Well, hello. I'm very much into fashion.
This is going to be an interesting episode today.
Welcome to the Harshie Podcast. I'm Brandon.
January.
And what are we talking about today?
Well, I want to start with a disclaimer first. I'm not completely all there at the moment. I had a lot of dental work done yesterday, and it leaves me feeling off for quite a few days. So today I keep kind of losing my thoughts, or I can picture what I'm trying to say, but the words are not coming out of my mouth. So all this to say that I don't think I should be held accountable for anything that drops on this episode today. Okay?
I will work my best editing magic.
I really appreciate that. And I think that's what finally made me feel okay with doing the podcast is it's not live. So you can edit it if needed.
That is true. That is true.
Absolutely. Well,
there are doctors you can see for that.
Stop it. Wow.
Well, this is a follow-up to our Mormons and Heathens, which is far and away our biggest podcast episode ever, which was our journey in and out of Mormonism. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that we feel we can do not being in the church, as opposed to things we thought we couldn't or shouldn't do when we were in the church.
Can I add one more tiny disclaimer?
Sure.
This is our own personal experience, our own funny little quirks and journey. We're not bashing you for what you believe. Basically, don't get offended.
Yeah, don't take everything so seriously. I mean... it is what it is.
So that's probably something that we do, is we take things a little less seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I was a boring stiff when I was Mormon. I remember actually specifically in chiropractic school, I was sitting with a couple other Mormon guys in the clinic, in the outpatient clinic, towards the end of graduating, and one of the other girls in our class came in and said something about how Mormons all look the same. And I asked her, I'm like, what about me? Do I look like a Mormon? She's like, oh, yeah, definitely. And I felt crushed. It's like, damn it.
But that brings up another good point is that I'm just going to keep saying that today. I'm going to ride your coattails. So your look did change being in the church.
Yes, dramatically.
You did change the way you spoke and your hair, facial hair, dressed. So you probably would not have felt comfortable having a beard, having tattoos. So your look really does change. And this isn't just about, the church. It's also just who you hang around with, right? You tend to talk and act like those you hang around with. So I actually think it's smart to sometimes step back and see who the 5 people you hang out with the most are and what they're saying and what they're doing, because you might not even realize. In hindsight, a few years ago, the people I was spending a lot of time with, I was a lot more judgy and gossipy and things like that. Now that I spend most of my time with Brandon, you and the kids and my grandparents and a few close friends, that's just not present anymore.
No.
So it really does change how you act, how you talk, and how you dress. So yeah, at the time, which is so funny, you did look Mormon.
Yeah, there's some of the pictures we took on the day our 4th child was born. We had a home birth. I'd had a buzz. I usually buzz my hair every 6 months or so because it was cheap and easy, and I hated getting haircuts. And in that picture, I look like I am a balding, malnourished, middle-aged Mormon dude. And I was doing a lot of running at the time, so I was pencil thin. It looks like to me, at least.
Well, you're 6'2", so
yeah.
So for you, that could
and at the time I was 182 pounds, and now I'm 222 pounds. So
right.
there is a 40
I will
pound
not
difference.
Be announcing my weight on the episode today. Then or now.
Yeah, well, and that was 10 years ago. So
yeah.
I look younger now than I did 10 years ago.
Being Mormon did not make me pencil thin. I may have never left.
You're still a closet Mormon.
No, you know what? I could never be pencil thin because I have curves. So whether I was smaller or not, that's just the way it is. So, okay, tattoos. I definitely feel that's different. When we were in the church, I've wanted tattoos for a long time, and when you're part of any kind of a group, I think at some level, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you think about what are these people going to think. And so tattoos was like, oh no, you can't do that. And it's like, why not? Like, why can't I? And I remember around the time we were a little less active and not going to church, there was a big article coming out about, converts who had tattoos and now they had learned, the right way and weren't having tattoos anymore. And I just thought, what propaganda bullshit. It's a form of expression and we all express ourselves differently. And to say that we can only express ourselves in a certain way because it fits within certain guidelines or certain rules or how we turn things around, I don't think that's fair, And if somebody wants to express themselves with tattoos versus somebody wants to express themselves artistically with writing or drawing or music, like, who's to say one is right and one is wrong? So
yeah,
we didn't start getting tattoos until November. I got my first tattoos
November of 2016. I got mine December 2016.
And when did we leave the organized religion?
About July of 2014. So a little over 2 years.
So even
2.5 years.
Even 2 years later, we were having this discussion, and I remember thinking, why are we even having this? Like, I don't care what anyone else thinks. This is my body and I have to live with this the rest of my life. I'm just doing it, And so I did. And it's one of those things where you're like, why did I wait so long? Like, who was I caring about? Whose opinions? Because nobody else has to live my life. This is how I feel about birth too, right? Like, nobody else has to heal emotionally and physically from your birth other than you and your family. So why are we caring so much about other people's opinions? And
right.
So tattoos is definitely one of the things that we do that we may not have if we had not become heathens.
No.
Yeah,
When I was practicing in a little panhandle town in Texas, there was one of the members of the church. We were talking to her one time, and she was talking about how when people get tattoos, they always get tattoos of satanic things like skulls.
Yeah. Like,
because everyone who gets a tattoo always gets a skull tattoo.
Always gets a skull tattoo.
It's just without fail.
Yeah.
I have yet to get a skull tattoo, but we have talked recently about that particular conversation, and I feel like I'm going to get a skull tattoo just for the hell of it because it's funny. And what's hilarious is when I was in high school, I really wanted a tattoo, and what I wanted was a skull lying in a pool of blood on my right shoulder blade.
Please don't do that.
Because I was a real metalhead in high school.
Yeah.
And so, you have to live to the heavy metal standards.
So maybe it's best to get tattoos after the frontal lobe of your brain has fully developed. So after the age of 25, so that you don't
quite possibly
get pools of blood, unless that's really your jam. I don't think you would like a pool of blood tattoo now.
No, not a pool of blood, but I'm definitely going to get a skull.
A skull.
Yeah.
Are you going to get like the Punisher skull or like, those cool ones, like Coco, the movie. I want those kind of skulls, but I don't know what that is. There's probably a lot of adjectives for that, so I probably won't do that. It's kind of true.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll get a skull with like the satanic ram horns or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Tattoos. Another thing that I do more freely and without judgment or worrying about others is drink coffee.
Ah, yes.
So in
me too.
Yeah, in Mormonism, in the Word of Wisdom, coffee is a no-no. And I actually did start drinking coffee again while we were actively Mormon because it helped with my depression a lot. And I didn't want to take medications. Just personally, that was where I was at. And I was very open about it. I was very open about that fact. I'm like, I just couldn't believe that the judgment was so harsh on that when every single person was having their own stuff. And I'm drinking coffee, and actually at the time our bishop was like, well, if that's the worst of your problems, January, we don't really have problems here. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, it really was. If you drink coffee, it's like this, like this gossip worthy thing. And
it is. And,
it's really weird.
So I drank coffee anyways, because there's only so much where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do me. So I did anyways, and I didn't keep it a secret, but I still was worried a little bit, of dealing with gossip and crap. So I will say I drink coffee obviously way more openly and freely now than before. And I find it incredibly silly that it's even something I had to worry about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No coffee or tea, but energy drinks are okay.
Okay, that's a
no
whole,
Cokes either.
That's a whole podcast in
don't
itself.
Drink Cokes. The dark sodas are no
Stop
good.
Stop it.
Only Sprites.
I'll just put my microphone down and you can
Sorry, you may continue.
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of drinking is the whole alcohol topic. And we have an episode on why I chose to be a teetotaler and also how coffee is not wine. Right. But we chose to give up alcohol when we became members of the Mormon church. I still to this day remember our conversation about it before we got baptized. And so we didn't drink alcohol for, 8 years. But I did it because I was told I couldn't more than anything else. And I really love that now, on the other side of it, that I made the decision on my own autonomy, my own choice for my own personal reasons, not because of doctrine. So that's something that's a little bit different for me as well. For me, that's really important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let me just clarify. It's not that you're told you can't. It's when you join the church, you want to eventually become temple worthy. And one of the things is abiding by the word of wisdom, which is no coffee, no tea, no alcohol, that sort of thing, based on a passage of scriptures in the Doctrine and Covenants, which is something in the Mormon church.
Right.
So,
yeah. But the point is that I made the choice for myself, and that's something that's different for me personally, and being in and out of organized religion, I guess, in that particular religion.
I haven't personally made the choice one way or another to drink. I don't, basically because we tend to do everything together.
Right.
And so if you're not drinking, I'm not drinking. And personally, I feel like I'm too old for that shit in regards to getting drunk and waking up with the hangovers. Like, I got too much stuff to do. I got too many kids to raise. I got too many goals. And
so you don't want to drink neurotoxins?
No. Waking up still groggy and still feeling buzzed because I had way too much alcohol the night before is just not my jam anymore.
Well, we work so hard day in and day out on our health. So it's actually very counterproductive.
Oh, yeah.
With how many changes we made, how many changes I've made with food and lifestyle, mental, physical.
Absolutely.
That it would be so counterproductive. And I've done a lot of posts on this recently, and I don't want to get into it too much because that's not what this episode is about. Mm-hmm. And we can maybe do another episode on it. But yeah, it's just counterproductive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
our diets are very high maintenance right now.
They
and
are.
Alcohol just
I'm
does
trying
not
to do as
fit.
many things as possible to not feel like shit.
Yeah.
So, me justifying drinking alcohol and then feeling like shit would be like, oh, great. Like that's just not what I want to invite into my life right now.
Well, like we talked about in the last episode, I'm all about the coffee buzzes. So if I can have something that's not alcohol, give me a buzz. I'm going for it.
I'm sure there's a Susan that will judge that. Oh, well, then that's not good for you either.
Oh, well.
Didn't ask. So what else? What else is different for you? Oh, I know something that's huge for you.
What?
Well, when we were Mormon, it was always Sunday is a day of rest.
Oh, yeah.
Did Sundays ever feel like a day of rest to you?
Never.
Fuck no.
No. That is actually truly bullshit.
That was one of the hardest fucking days of the week especially if you had callings. You had to prepare for them. You had to get up early. You had to teach classes. Mm-hmm. And then if you are a parent, you have to get your children ready for 3 hours of church, plus your other church responsibilities. And then you go into Monday the next day. It is not a day of rest. Every single family I knew worked all through the week. Then Saturday, you get all your shit done you need to get done because Sunday, you're not allowed to go anywhere and do anything. You have church. And then you go back to Monday. That's just like, there is no, I did not feel rested. Mm-hmm. And I felt frustrated because I'm like, this is not a day of rest, and then you have this day full of responsibilities and juggling children and getting everyone ready and everyone church ready. And then, you're exhausted and then you can't even order a freaking pizza.
Yeah. And the reason being because, one of the things in the church is keeping the Sabbath day holy. So by keeping it holy, you're not participating in any kind of business activities. You're not going out to eat. You're not going to the store. You're not doing any kind of exchange of money on Sundays. And so that means you have to get all of your errands run on Saturday. You basically have to prepare for Sunday on Saturday. So in my opinion, it's almost like you lose a day of the week.
2, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so on Sunday, you're doing all your callings, as you said. And just getting the kids ready for church alone was crazy. And we have a lot of kids. And towards the end there, we were still going to church sporadically after Beard Baby was. No, we weren't. We were not, actually. So yeah, when we stopped going to church, we still only had 5 kids. But even still, that was nuts.
I didn't realize how strongly I felt about that. Like I just had a moment, didn't I?
And when you get a church calling, they're all lay callings. You're not being paid for anything. No one's being paid for anything. So you have a bishop who is kind of the equivalent of a pastor, who is like the leader of the congregation. That guy is working literally another full-time job on top of the full-time job he has, on top of having a family. And so they're hardly ever home.
Yeah.
And I don't care what they say, they're hardly ever home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
really hard.
Yeah,
sure.
It's rough.
And then something that always for me was that this is always, maybe this is the feminist of me, but all of the young mothers, or the mothers with young children, I should say, always got the callings with the young children.
Yeah, in the nursery.
So instead of going to, Relief Society or, which is the class for women, to fill their cup and be fulfilled and be refreshed.
That's solidarity.
In solidarity, they're in nursery or in the primary classes and teaching the young children. And that used to frustrate me because I'd be sitting in Relief Society. I'm like, I just know that there's so many other women that could be using this message or be sitting here and feeling this, community and just having an hour to be around other women and feel that support. And they're not getting that right now. I'm like, put all the old people with the children and let the young moms or moms with young children be here. That was always something no, Sundays were not a day of rest. They were not a day of rest. I did not realize I needed to unpack that. And I just did so right now. So thank you all for allowing me to unpack that. I don't think that is supportive to families with children. And, you need, maybe it's because I've experienced so much of postpartum depression, anxiety, and things myself. And then I've spoken with thousands and hundreds of thousands of women who have as well. And then to see it, how it's playing out firsthand within the community or within the church, it's like, I don't know. I really struggled with that. And I feel that needs to be, maybe it is being talked about. I don't know. I'm not in the church anymore, but addressed.
I don't know.
It needs to be addressed.
Well, it's interesting because you have ward buildings, and a ward is your congregation. And so when there's a ward building, typically there'll be 2, 3, maybe even 4 wards that go to that one building. And what I mean is like if you live in a certain area, it's almost like a school district. If you live in a certain school district, you go to this school. If you live in the other school district, you go to that school. And it's the same thing in the church. If you live in this ward boundary, you go to this ward meeting at this time. And so a lot of times the ward meetings are 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m. And so 9 a.m. is bad because can you imagine getting all your kids ready? You got to start that up at 6:37 in the morning. Mm-hmm. That is a very hectic way to wake up on a Sunday morning,
right?
A day of rest. 11 was always so. That was never.
Well, you needed to make sure to pack extra snacks or food, in my opinion.
Yes, because towards the end of that is around nap time, and then the worst is 1 p.m. If you're in a ward where you got to go to church at 1 p.m., that is at nap time, and you're going there, and your kids are unruly, and
it's hard to rest in the morning knowing you have to have everyone ready out the door at 12:30 and do lunch early, and then it's just a weird time.
And church being 3 hours, so you're in church from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So it's like you can't really enjoy your morning that much, mm-hmm. and then you get home and it's dinner time.
I used the crock pot a lot during that time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one was eating dinner because we couldn't order our fucking pizza.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Before you went to church, we'd go out to lunch with your dad and then order pizzas. Yeah. And then that was all gone.
It was like a Sunday thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it was all work on Sundays.
That, you have been so into that this week. Is that just doing it for you?
It's funny. It's hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we feel like our Sundays are very different.
Yes. Now we lay in bed till 10 or 11 in the morning.
We live in a society and a culture that we don't take siestas. People aren't resting and self-caring enough. They're not. We just go. And especially as women and moms, we feel like we have to have a reason or permission to just stop or rest or take a little bit of a break or fill our cups. And so, one thing in our country that is kind of across the board is Sundays are a day to go to church and get fulfilled or spend with your family or, whatever it is for you. Sundays are more of a chill day, and
watch football.
People watch football. And so I feel that if that's the only time that it feels okay for it to be a day of rest, and then it doesn't feel like a day of rest, that's just hard, I guess. Or
it's really hard.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish that, I think everyone listening to this to start taking siestas. You'd be at work and be like, look, I gotta leave at 2:30 and I'll be back at 4 because January said that we are now instilling siestas.
Hey, you know what? It's a healthy way to live.
It is.
It's absolutely as a 20-minute power nap can change your life every single day. So.
Well, and I have to give it to a lot of men in church. They usually actually do that 20-hour naps at church.
Oh my God. The third hour of church. So the women and the men, they separate. The women go to what's called Relief Society. Men go to Elders Quorum. Elders Quorum is boring as shit. It is so boring.
And
there's
it's
only
like the same people that are ever contributing to the conversation.
Yeah,
right?
There's like the same two people that they're like, all they're doing is ever reading scriptures. And those of you who are still in the church, you know who those two people are in your ward. You know who those two guys are.
Might be one of them.
Maybe you are one of them. I don't know. But if not, you know who that guy is.
And everybody else is taking their 20-minute
siesta.
siesta.
And everyone's nodding off, trying to stay awake.
Because they're exhausted.
Towards the end, when I was losing interest in being at church, I'd bust out Angry Birds. I'd sit in the back and play Angry Birds as, someone's, one of those two guys is going on and on, hearing himself talk. So boring.
They're having their siestas.
Yeah.
They're fine. They're finding time. Oh my
Elders
goodness.
Quorum, a.k.a. nap time for
time.
dads.
And you know what? I actually fully support that.
Hey.
I actually could get behind that.
You get more of a nap than you will have a lesson.
I completely support that. 100%. I stand behind. Yeah. Nap without fear at church.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay. So anything else that you feel is different for us or we do differently being in and out of?
For me personally,
church?
it's entertainment. While it's not a rule, it's heavily frowned upon in the church. If you're into, you want to listen to hip hop or rap or metal or rock or watch rated R movies, things that are unwholesome, so to speak, quote unquote.
And this is not doctrine. This is more like culture. And
exactly.
But there is a lot of judgment based around these things.
Yeah, Mormon culture. And so I didn't listen to a lot of the music I liked while I was in church and didn't watch a lot of... we still watch some things, but not a lot. And so I feel like since leaving the church, I have definitely returned to my roots, how I was, as a teenager and when we were first together, all the music I listened to. And, we definitely... I really only like to watch rated R or TVMA programming, to be honest, because we have so many kids and so many kids shows are on all the time. The kids go to bed. I don't want to watch anything that has any kind of like wholesome quality. I want to watch some violence or some cussing and maybe some sex. I don't know, just something to make me feel like I'm an adult.
Basically the last season of Luke Cage
season 2 was amazing.
Yeah, that was
holy shit.
That was amazing. God. That was wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't sleep very well while we were watching that. That was intense.
If you haven't watched it, watch it. It is amazing. The music is great.
It is.
Oh, God.
For my mental health, I do have to kind of be careful about what I watch. But it's almost like did you feel like you weren't, like you said, you got back to your roots, so you didn't feel like you were being your authentic self
I was not being my authentic self being in the Mormon church whatsoever. Who I am now with the beard, with the tats, playing guitar, listening to heavy metal, lifting weights, bodybuilding, what I'm doing now, that's who I am.
Right.
And that's definitely feeling much better than it used to.
So I will say this. I think that there are definitely a large amount of people who do stay true to who they are that are in the church.
Yes, they do.
I think that the church needs that. Like it needs people who are like, yes, I drink coffee for, whatever XYZ reason, or yes, I have tattoos and I play the guitar and I'm not sorry about it. And I think that that's fantastic. It's not to say that anybody that is in the church is not being their authentic self and aren't finding incredible spirituality and connection and community. The community within the church is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But for some people, that doesn't work. And towards the end of our experience in the church, that was my, I don't want to say goal, but that was kind of my focus on, you know what, I'm just going to be me and still be in the church. Like, and if that means I want to listen to, you know, old school hip hop and drink coffee and use the F word, then I will, or, you know, read the books I want to read or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that you can definitely still be your authentic, true self there. It got to a point where I didn't believe in the doctrine anymore. So, you know, that's why I chose not to stay in the church and be one of those people. But if you are in any kind of organized religion and you are doing some things that are kind of outside the box or outside the norms or the culture in there, and you're receiving any kind of judgments or whatnot, keep doing you, you know, like keep being yourself, keep showing up. If you want to be there and you believe the doctrine and this is where your family is and where you want to be, keep showing up and keep doing you, because I think that it's incredibly healthy within organized religions for us to be our authentic selves and do things a little bit different and say, hey, you know, we don't have to judge if not every single person is doing things exactly, you know, the same. If we're not all doing things exactly the same, that is okay. So I have mad respect for people who do that, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So just want to share that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in general the Mormon church tends to be maybe 10, 20, 30 years behind times. You know, they were persecuted for polygamy for decades, and then finally they outlawed it in the church. You know, the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and it was 1978 when they allowed, you know, all races to hold the priesthood. And you know, they've been, you know, against gay marriage pretty hardcore the last decade. Give it 10, 15, 20 years, gay couples will be able to get sealed in the temples just as well.
You think so?
Absolutely. It's
Good.
It's just a sign of the times. They have to evolve.
Well, you just crossed that line and went right over it, didn't you? So yes. I'm just going to pull you back over here a little bit. Hey, hi.
Hey there.
Okay, but that brings up something else in that you probably would have never found meditation or Buddhism if you had stayed in the church. So that's a change. That's a difference for you personally.
Yes.
Being in and out of the church is, and you know, because of course we prayed and read scriptures and all that, but now it's meditation and you've really been studying Buddhism. Mm-hmm. And so that's a huge change for you, correct?
Yeah, well, because, you know, they talk about praying a lot when you're in a church. And when you pray, that can obviously be a form of meditation, but it's very, very short form of meditation. I mean, if you're praying, you're talking about maybe 1, possibly 2 minutes at most.
Because you know how long every single person prays, apparently.
I do. I know people don't pray for more than 2 minutes. Unless you go to general conference.
I've prayed longer than a minute or two.
Maybe 3 minutes.
I think I disagree.
How long do you think is your longest prayer? I need to know.
I don't know, but I'm just speaking up and saying that I don't think people are only praying always only for a minute or two.
Well, you got to think a minute or two is longer than you think.
Now, I will give to you that most people are not only meditating for a minute or 2 or 3, which is, I think, where you were going with this.
I was getting to that.
Yes.
I was being long-winded in my approach.
I think that you needed a harmony circle to process and feel validated over some things of being in and out of the Mormon church. You know, you're like, yeah, let's talk about a couple funny things. And I think that you have a lot that you need to get off your chest. I'm angry,
damn it.
Get off your chest. And you should pray about that. And but I think that's okay. You know,
Our Father in heaven.
Stop it. Oh my God. Okay, so meditation is a very, very different experience for you.
Yes, it is, because when I'm meditating, it's 10, 15, 20 minutes where I'm just being still and quiet and alone in my own thoughts. And
so for you personally, do you feel that you are finding a different kind of peace within yourself with meditation than you did with prayer personally?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And you know what's interesting is when we would go to the temple was completely quiet.
Right.
And so when you're in the temple, it's very quiet.
It's very meditative.
Still, yes. And it was very meditative. And so when you talk to people about their experiences in the temple, I'm not going to reveal anything, but everyone talks about how, you know, they feel better. It was peaceful. It was quiet. And yeah, it's a very meditative experience. And so I think people can come away feeling like they've found some answers that maybe they didn't have before. I think the difference is in the church, people are attributing that to the Holy Ghost giving them the answer, as opposed to the answer being within yourself.
Within yourself. That was something I actually always personally struggled with. I did find peace and solace in prayer personally. And that's because it was one time that I was setting aside everything else and electronics and kids and you know, getting quiet and speaking what was on my mind and asking for answers. And I've always had a very strong sense of like, you know, intuition and whatnot. And so just by getting quiet and processing through my thoughts and whatnot, I did find benefits in prayer for myself. But what I struggle with is when I came to conclusions or found answers, I didn't think it was an outside source giving me those answers. And we had this discussion actually quite often when we were Mormon, because that was something that I, you know, always felt kind of on the fence about. So when I meditate now, I don't always just try to go to a complete silence and quiet space. I do make affirmations. I do let my brain process a lot of things on my mind first before I try to quiet things down. And so I almost feel like for me, my meditation right now, and this will change over time, is pulling from meditation, what I read about meditation, and maybe even a little bit of prayer, and then positive affirmation, you know, work and cognitive therapy work. And that's where I am with my meditation right now. So, you know, I think that is definitely going to be unique to everyone. And maybe some people with their prayer is almost a version of my meditation. So, you know, yeah, so you never know. But I know that our paths would not have led to, and especially yours, to meditation and Buddhism and whatnot otherwise. And we talked about Buddhism and meditation, all these things years ago, like 19 years ago, 18 years ago, you know.
It might have, my path might have led to that eventually, because it kept popping into my life every couple of years. And I'm finally,
but that's a big difference for you being in and out of the church.
Yeah. That's a real big one. Mm-hmm. Very, very much so, for sure.
Absolutely. Are you feeling like you've just let some stuff? Yeah. I think you needed that.
I feel good. It was a catharsis.
I think that a lot of things you brought up are things that people deal with and think about when they're involved in any type of organized religion. And these aren't these huge, massive things. So they might not be things that they talk about with anyone. And so I actually think that there's going to be people listening here and be like, okay, wow, Brandon. And there might be other people like, yes, thank you, you know, because they might feel very alone and they have a little solidarity and, you know, your thought process and the differences of being in and out of organized religion. So I think it's good that you got that off your chest. all the things.
There's more where that came from, but I won't get into that because that's not my thing. Everyone else does. I don't want to be like everyone else.
No, I don't either. Bad language words. That's another one.
Bad language words are fun. Fuck, shit, damn.
My goodness. I always felt like I had to be like this perfect example to everyone and my children. And it's okay to not be perfect. And I remember when we decided not to be, not just in the church, but part of any organized religion, it was like, what about your moral compass? So when you're within an organized religion, like you're told what's right, what's wrong, what your moral compass is. And I think there's a little bit of fear of losing that as human beings, right? Like we don't have that guide. So what's that guide? Well, that guide has to become within yourself. Like you have to get really real with yourself. Like who are you as a human being? What is your own personal moral compass? What do you truly feel is wrong or right? And you found that liberating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You found that really liberating. I remember you saying.
I actually feel like my moral compass is stronger not being in the church because I don't have that guilt factor of all these rules that you have to abide by. And if you slip up on one of them, it's like, crap, now I got to do better. I got to repent of my sins and ask for forgiveness. And
you're really hard on yourself mentally. And so for you, that was a thing.
Yeah, that's not a good situation for me to be in.
Yeah, that was really difficult for your mental health, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is that an understatement or something?
I'm pretty brutal on myself, and I've learned to get better. I'm getting better. I'm working on it. I don't cuss myself out so much anymore. Maybe a little bit here and there.
But you cuss freely without fear now.
I do. Yes. I say fuck, shit, damn freely. I gotta say, when I was in chiropractic school, I remember there was this one guy in my class. Something happened, and he was very upset, and he said, "Yeah, I can't believe that Fetchin teacher." And even being Mormon and not cussing, not using bad language words, I was thinking in my mind, "Wow, that is fucking nerdy." Like, what? Fetchin? And then people actually use dagnabbit and things. I mean, that's stuff I heard in Looney Tunes when I was a kid.
Fetchin.
Elmer Fudd's like, Yosemite Fetchin. Sam. Dagnabbit.
Fetchin. Isn't fetchin like a verb?
Yeah, like the dog's fetching the stick.
Yeah, I mean, that's more of a verb than anything.
Don't ask me.
I said effing and heck a lot when we were Mormon. Like, what the heck? Or
yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Which, I mean, I still say this from time to time, but.
And effing and. Now, I don't cuss around our kids. I don't drop F-bombs around our kids, nothing like that. But when I'm around other adults, I want to feel free to express myself.
Yeah.
The way I want without gasps.
Watch your fetching mouth.
That fetching January.
Dagnabbit.
Nasty. She's nasty. Well, so this was great. I hope that you feel that you've been validated and supported and heard, and you can maybe let some of this go.
It wasn't that bad.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. When you're listening back to edit it, you might think you were. You might not.
Who knows? Maybe I'm going to have to hit the delete button a few times.
One thing that I love about you is that sometimes you will express thoughts or opinions that maybe I wouldn't, because just with my experience on social media, sometimes I still have a little bit of kind of a holdback and a little bit of fear of, saying something. I don't want to offend, not that I don't want to offend anyone. I just care about how everyone feels. I care so much about how everyone feels, and I don't want anyone to feel like I'm, stepping on their beliefs or, not being mindful or caring about their experience. But sometimes I hold myself back in sharing my own beliefs and my own experiences based on caring so much about other people's. And that doesn't do me or anyone a service either. So I always appreciate from you that you don't have that. And when you speak up or you say something that maybe I normally wouldn't, never fails that people are like, thank you, or I feel that way too, or I needed to hear that. And so I think that maybe there's things in this episode today that I might not have said or I might not have brought up, but it doesn't mean that somebody didn't need to hear those things. And I like that you speak on things, without fear.
Well, when I was a teenager, I was a pretty offensive dude.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not offensive like that anymore, I definitely have no problem speaking my mind on certain things.
Right.
And I think it's one thing to say, you know what, you're an idiot because you're Mormon. That's rude. That's offensive. That's uncalled
and you
for.
don't think that.
No, I don't think that about anyone. I mean, whatever you want to believe is whatever you want to believe in.
Listen to this, guys. Can you hear this? It's not working. Oh, my text tone is a laughing chipmunk. It's amazing. And I'm getting all these texts right now, and I wanted you guys to be able to hear that. Okay, so is there anything else that you feel you do differently or you experience differently being in and out of?
I think we covered all the fetching ideas.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to go fetch myself some more coffee. Oh, there it is. I hope that came through because my volume is really low right now. Oh, I love it. It's so fabulous. Okay, guys. Well, until next time.
Adios.
Love ya.